I'm Mike Becker with PIA. Today I have the opportunity to talk to Jeff Ettinger with the National Council on Compensation Insurance, NCCI. If you aren't familiar with NCCI, make sure you check them out, ncci.com. But they are an organization that's been around for about 100 years. Really, their mission is to foster a healthy workers' compensation system, and they do that by gathering data. They analyze industry trends. They provide objective insurance rates and loss cost recommendations. And Jeff has been doing this for over 30 years. So as we talk more and more about the COVID-19 outbreak and how it's impacting us, the entire insurance community and the business community, as it relates to work comp, there's really no one better that we could be talking to. So Jeff, not only do I appreciate you joining me for a little bit of time on this video, but let's just cut right to the chase. It seems that at a real high level, the question that people want to know and are asking is the COVID-19 outbreak, is it compensable under state workers' compensation acts?
Yeah, I guess the answer to that question really is maybe. While workers' comp laws provide compensation for occupational diseases that arise in and out of employment, many state statutes actually exclude ordinary diseases of life like the common cold or the flu. Arguably, there are some occupations like healthcare workers where there's a clear delineation between the disease and their employment. But I think it is causing some uncertainty.
So from the business community, we seem to be hearing two main areas or two main questions. One is a scenario where you have a business that's completely suspended their operations specifically due to the COVID-19 outbreak. So they have their employees, they're still on the payroll, they're at home, not working. So for those businesses that are still have their employees on the payroll, they just aren't working and they're sitting at home, is that payroll included in the premium calculations for workers' compensation?
Yeah, so outside of just claim compensability, this situation has just caused some operational questions, which you talk about. And I will say, I'll kind of paraphrase here a little bit, but I do encourage people to look on our website for the exact answers with the rules that'll show up in the basic manual. But yeah, if an operation has shut down but they've decided to still pay their employees, those wages and salaries paid to those employees while they're not working would still be reported according to our rules.
Okay, because another similar scenario is that you've had businesses that have not completely shut down their business operations, their limited operations due to the outbreak. And as a result of that, you've had employees that are now being placed into essentially new roles within that business for the duration of this pandemic, or at least the foreseeable future. So for the businesses that have limited operations and their employees are still working under a new employee role potentially within the organization, what classifications could or should be used perhaps or assigned to these employees in those scenarios?
Yeah, so according to the way the rules apply, the classifications are assigned to the business, the employer, not necessarily to each individual employee or occupation. So even if an employee is doing kind of a new job for a certain period of time, it's likely that their classification code would not change.
Okay, so I know you've looked at this from all different scenarios, just a little bit of a different perspective on the data reporting side. Are you seeing any implications for data reporting?
So as far as data reporting goes, yes, we have established some new coding so that we can capture specific claims due to COVID. So we recently added a new nature of injury code for COVID-19. And a cause of injury code for pandemics, and they're going to be used on financial data reporting that comes in the next several months.
So this is information, I'm presuming, also available on your website, ncci.com. So as Jeff mentioned a minute ago, if you aren't familiar with that website, please get familiar with it. They've also put out a really great FAQ that's also available right on the front side of their website under a big banner. So make sure as you look at all this information on the ncci.com website that you're looking at that FAQ. Hey, Jeff, I want to ask you a little bit about the audits too. Are you recommending to carriers anything, particularly as it relates to, say, how carriers are handling the physical audits versus virtual audits from a voluntary and a residual market perspective?
So, audits are an important part of the process here. So we have gotten some questions about that, and the answer is different depending on whether or not they're in the voluntary or residual market. So in the voluntary market, there could be, an option for a virtual audit in lieu of a physical audit. For the policies written in residual market, a physical audit is required. So it's more about being flexible around scheduling and maybe documenting that just for future purposes.
So what about the scenario where an employer is unable to comply with completing an audit, specifically due to the outbreak here? Is that employer going to be considered non-compliant?
I mean, technically, yes, they would be considered non-compliant, but, the carrier has the option of applying an audit non-compliance charge, but it's not mandatory. So a carrier could opt not to apply that charge in this unique situation.
So a lot of these questions are more short-term in nature, and a lot of the questions that we're getting, and I know you're getting them as well, but if I can ask you to look inside a crystal ball just for a minute, what do you see as at least some potential long-term impacts of the COVID-19 outbreak?
So I think, because of the uncertainty around compensability, I think we could see and are already starting to see some attempts to maybe clarify what is and is not covered, or who are not covered under workers' compensation. So we could begin to see more maybe legislation or clarifications around state statutes about, what should be covered. The second part really, not unique to workers' comp, but really an impact to employers is just what we're seeing right now with this mass telecommuting and what that's going to do to overall claims and just what the challenges that employers are going to have. So going forward, they may be looking at how their ability to telecommute again in the future. Finally, just the overall impact on the economy. We're having, huge impacts right now. And as far as workers' compensation goes, whenever we see a change in the mix of employment, so, we see layoffs in the travel industry and hospitality industry and restaurant industry, whenever we see the changes in just the different sectors, then we're going to see changes in claiming activity. So that'll be more of a longer term impact.
Great. Thank you for that perspective. And thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. I know we're both trying to work remote here and get as much information out from both PIA and NCCI's perspective on impacts to the industry here. So I appreciate that very much. And I hope you continue to do well. And I hope all of you continue to do well and fare well throughout this COVID-19 outbreak. Both PIA and NCCI, I know, are trying to get you the best, most reliable, accurate information in a timely manner. So check both the PIA website, but also ncci.com for all things related to the workers' comp system. So Jeff, thank you very much, and we hope you all have a great day.